Hi, I want to talk about overwhelm today. It's one of the common forms of inner struggles that many people suffer from. There's two ways that we can look at this. I'll use two videos to talk about it. Today, I want to talk about it from a perspective of using a metaphor of a production line. Imagine it's your job to screw lids on jars on a production line. There's a conveyor belt and all the jars whiz by, and it's your job to screw the lids on. And of course, if the conveyor belt's going the right speed, you're quite happy in your job screwing the lids on. Imagine though that the conveyor belt is slowly sped up. So you work harder and harder and harder and faster and faster and faster until eventually you reach a point where you can't keep putting the lids on. And in fact, maybe the jars start tumbling off the production line. So what do? Well, before it gets too fast, I suppose you might look at your technique, try and improve the way that you're going about putting the lids on the jars. You might do flexibility exercises so you become more flexible. Maybe if it gets faster and faster, you end up getting some mechanical aid to make it possible. And eventually, if it gets too fast, you'll be left with no option but to ask your boss to slow the machine down, the conveyor belt down, because it's got beyond your capacity. Now, this is a metaphor, of course. So now let's bring it back into the workplace. You're working quite happily, and then you start taking on more and more and more. What can you do? Well, the first thing is to try and improve your techniques. Look at your time management. How are you using your time? Are you using it wisely? Are you getting distracted with things that are taking you away from your major task? If that doesn't work, then you've got to look at maybe you need to delegate some of the tasks. Maybe you've taken on too much and you need to delegate tasks. Maybe you need to get an assistant, maybe a virtual assistant. Maybe there's some way that you can reduce your workload. And if that doesn't work, just like the person on the production line, you might have to talk to your boss, and the boss might be you in the case of a solo entrepreneur. You might have to take on less. You might have to set stricter boundaries and take on less and be realistic about what you can achieve. Otherwise, you're going to end up in this terrible state of great mental anguish and unhappiness and being relatively unproductive. And in fact, in the end, perhaps harming your health. So I hope this metaphor is helpful to you. How well does it apply to your situation right now? And if you want some help with inner struggles, including overwhelm, that's something I help people with. They can be held back by inner programming, unconscious programming that's making things a lot harder for them. So if that's the case, certainly get in touch with me and we'll see what we can do to help you. Thank you very much.